everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the CineMajors podcast. I am one of your hosts, Matthew Ha.
And I'm your other host, James Alchel.
And today is, I don't even know what day is it. It's August 12th, 2020. And we are going to be talking about a film called True Stories. It was directed by David Byrne of the band Talking Heads. And it's a very interesting film, but before we talk about that, let's get into some movie news. And here's a first. We're not going to be talking about Tenet and Mulan this week.
No.
Because we talked about it like 10,000 times. But
right.
This is a very exciting piece of news, at least for us. Disney has pretty much announced that Tron 3 is back in development after how many years? I don't know.
It's been like 10 years, I think. No, 9 years. 9 years.
Yeah. And
so that's very cool.
Yep, it's not going to be directed by the same guy that did Legacy, but it's instead going to be directed by Garth Davis, who did the film Lion from 2016, and it is also going to star Jared Leto.
Yeah, so interesting choice.
Yeah, and I remember hearing he was always attached at some point, even when this was like supposedly in development years and years ago. Apparently Disney wanted him to be in it. And also, we've called it Tron 3 for the longest time, but Jared Leto supposedly leaked the supposed title on accident on Twitter. And it's going to be called Tron Heiress, which is not a bad title, actually.
I believe that's the name of his character.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. I mean, it could be just a working title, but...
Right. Which I think it sounds cool. Sounds like something from Tron. I guess, Ares sounds like a Tron name, which is cool.
Yeah.
I guess I'll just be interested to see where they go with this, I was expecting Joseph Kosinski to come back to direct.
That's what I thought too. Oops.
Yeah. So I wonder how the visual style will change between directors. I guess I don't know if we talked about this in the Tron review, but what was interesting about Tron Legacy is Joseph Kosinski was actually like an architect.
Oh, really? I didn't know.
So, so that kind of like played into a lot of the design choices or like art direction. I guess I've not seen Lion, so I don't really know.
Lion's actually a pretty good movie, from what I recall.
Nice.
It's some people might consider it to be like one of those Oscar bait type movies because it was nominated for Best Picture, but I think it's actually pretty good. It has a lot of heart to it and really good performances.
Well, maybe we'll get to see a better writing this time, or better story.
Better story. I think I find it interesting that Tron 3 is even going back into development, at least now, considering everything that's going on.
Right.
And especially since I thought they canceled it years ago. And because Tron Legacy, it didn't do great at the box office, so I'm surprised Disney wants to come back and try and start the franchise up again. And also, I've been hearing rumors that this could be a Disney Plus exclusive, or it could go into theaters. But
a Disney Plus exclusive?
Yeah, it'll be a Disney Plus original.
Wow. That would be nuts.
Apparently some insiders are predicting that Tron 3 will be another financial disaster for Disney.
Yeah, that's what I've read as well.
I mean, I don't want to judge it right now just because there's no barely any information, but I have this feeling that it could bomb again.
It could.
But I mean,
But who
hopefully,
knows? Maybe they're. I think they could also be underestimating the cult value of Tron.
would you
Like
say
I feel like
would you say
yeah.
that the Tron fan base has grown since Legacy, or
I think absolutely. You know, like if you like mention Tron to someone or you show them like a light cycle or you know if you show them kind of like lights like that, I think a lot of people kind of make that connection, you know. I guess I don't really know because I can only speak for kind of like my friends,
right?
but and you know of course you know like pretty much every movie ever, but like I don't know, I mean I feel like a lot of people really enjoyed Tron Legacy from what I can tell, so yeah, we'll have to see.
Yeah, it's I mean, obviously, if anyone has listened to our previous episode on Tron and Tron Legacy, you know that I'm not the biggest fan of the franchise in general, but I'm still interested to see
Right.
where they could take the story, because I hope it'll be good. I hope I'd enjoy it, but it's like only time will tell because we don't even have a release date for it.
True
So
that.
I don't know. Maybe it'll come out at the same time Avatar 2 eventually comes out, which
Okay, never.
pretty much, yeah. But yeah, is there anything else you have to say about Tron 3?
I'm excited. I guess I'm not getting my hopes up too high. Just because I feel like this has happened a few times where, you know, they say Tron 3 news or they do an interview with the director and it says that it's still happening and there's a bunch of stories about it. But yeah, I'm very excited to see the movie. And also the ride.
Oh, the ride, yeah.
Yeah, which will eventually happen.
Just real quick, I find it funny too that we made a fake Tron 3 video like right after we did
Oh,
our
yeah.
episode, and now Tron 3 is actually coming out.
Right.
So that's pretty cool, I guess.
Yeah, I can't believe we're gonna be in the movie.
Well, I guess should we move on to our next topic?
Yeah, I think speaking of movies, the new Mutants is still on track to be released on August 28th. And for those of you who don't know, the New Mutants is an X-Men film. It's based in the X-Men universe with X-Men characters. And it was in development at 20th Century Fox. It has had like a really long post-production
And so many delays.
lifespan or process.
Yeah.
It's gone through so many delays, reshoots, re-edits, and we've joked about it a lot. I mean, I've known Matthew for about 3 years now.
Probably, yeah.
And ever since I've met him and known him, like the New Mutants has been like slated to come out soon.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say right now, they say it's gonna be released August 28th. At least for America, it's not happening. There's no way it's happening. Now, I have a feeling it'll get released in other countries because other countries actually did their part and quarantined and all that. So now they're open and theaters are open there. So they could totally release it in, like, I don't know, the UK, or I think even China movie theaters are opening up now. So it's like they could release
Yeah.
it there, but at least for America, that August 28th opening is probably not going to happen, which is
Yeah,
hilarious
not likely.
considering this was the 5th time it was delayed, because it was supposed to come out in April of 2018, and
Right.
it's August 2020, which is insane, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if
Because at
I've
this point,
ever
do
heard of
people
anything
care
like it.
anymore? I'm sorry to cut you off, but
Uh, no, yeah. That's the big question. I mean, personally, I've never been super interested in this movie.
oh, see, that's the thing, because like when the first trailer came out in October of 2017, and I remember seeing,
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, this actually looks pretty cool, because it seems to be more like a horror film than a superhero movie. And I was actually
Yeah.
really excited for it. And then when it got delayed, I'm like, oh man, that stinks. I gotta wait longer. And then it got delayed again. It's like, okay, am I ever gonna see this movie? And by the time, like, because they reshot 75% of the movie, because
Wow.
I guess Fox wanted it to be more scary or something.
Hmm.
So maybe I don't know what happened, but they reshot so much of it, and then it was supposed to come out in April of 2020, but then the pandemic occurred. And it's like,
Mm.
okay, and considering that Disney's releasing Mulan on Disney Plus, like they really should just put it on there, because it's like there's no there's no telling when American movie theaters are gonna fully reopen, and by then there's
Right.
probably gonna be better movies that people are more excited to watch that are gonna come out. Like Black Widow is supposed to hit theaters in um, November,
November, right?
so
Yeah.
it's
And the
like,
James Bond movie and
yeah, so it's like I don't know if people are gonna flock to this by the time, and like Tenet's coming out apparently.
yeah,
So
we will see.
I mean, I guess I'm curious. I'm curious why it took them so long, but I'm just gonna, whenever a movie gets
Yeah.
delayed like this many times, it's usually not a good sign. And
Right.
to tell you the truth, like I'm not expecting this to be good, but I just want to see it for myself, considering we've waited 2.5 years for this.
Exactly. Like I just really want to see what people have to say about it, and like does it live up to the was all that
Was it worth the
reshooting
wait? Yeah.
necessary? Yeah.
I mean, if Dark
End of
Phoenix
an
was
era.
any hint, because that got delayed and reshot, and the movie was absolutely terrible. If that was
Yeah.
any clue, New Mutants is like, it's heading in the wrong direction, I think. Now, will it
Yeah.
be as bad as like Artemis Fowl? I don't think so, because there's very few things that are like worse than that. But yeah, I don't see it being very good.
I didn't see Dark Phoenix actually,
Oh,
but
it's not worth your time. it was
I've heard I'm not really
it
missing
was
much.
it was really boring, and it was not a good conclusion to this generation of X-Men.
Darn. Yeah.
Well,
Well, yeah, I mean, so should we get into the movies for today?
yeah, let's get into the film that we are going to discuss. So, True Stories, it came out in 1986, and as we said earlier, it was directed by David Byrne, who is a member of the band Talking Heads. He also stars in the movie as well, and he co-wrote the movie. And it also stars John Goodman. And describing the film is very interesting. So, David Byrne plays a nameless narrator who introduces us to this town called Virgil, Texas. It's a fictional town in the 80s. And the town is getting ready for Texas's 150th anniversary. And he presents us with these townsfolk who are very eccentric and playful. And all throughout the movie, he is introducing us to these people, while also sort of observing and poking fun in a respectful way at the idea of the American small town. And as a film, I think it's incredibly unique and very one of a kind, which I know those mean the same thing. What did you think of this movie?
Yeah, that was kind of what was going through my head. I'd never. Had you seen this movie before?
I had. So this was I I saw this at my school at Iowa, and we were doing a series on Americans, well, not American, but just on small towns, and this was a movie that we played at this theater, and I had never heard of it before, like, and even like the Talking Heads, like I was aware of them, but I was not familiar with their music at all. And so
Yeah.
I didn't really know what to expect going in, but then when I watched it, I'm like, wow, this movie's really, really great, and nobody's talking about it. And I really think this is a movie that should get more attention. And it already had it is a cult movie. Like it does have its fans, but not nearly as many as it should. Because I think just the idea of it and also the music and the tone, everything is just very it's a very fun, upbeat movie that we don't really see very much of.
Mm-hmm. I did think it was unique. I think kind of like it seems like it was like a movie that you kind of see, and it presents like a very clear like emotion, that isn't necessarily just like a vibe, it's the vibe of being in a small town, and just kind of that, like, you see all the different people and stuff, and it's not necessarily like flashy, but yeah, it is upbeat. And I think it was alright, in my opinion. I didn't think it was. Yeah, I didn't dislike it, but I guess I didn't really particularly connect with it. But I think it does have like a lot of really cool ideas, and like you said, the style is very unique. Particularly the narrator. How it's kind of like him telling the story of the small town in, the little details, and like even the his speech at the end, I thought that was cool. Like it's yeah. The plot is not necessarily super like exciting. That's what I was gonna say. I don't know if I would go as far to say as like that's plotless, but there are like kind of very loose narrative threads tying it together. Basically, what happens is the narrator introduces us to various different people, which include Lewis, who is a guy who's just like, he just wants to find love. And then there's a woman who has not left her bed for several years because she doesn't have to. And there's just kind of various other side characters that appear. But I did think the movie had a lot of interesting ideas, and a lot of kind of cool style choices that I really did like. and I liked how the film was basically a story being told by the narrator, who's he later describes it as basically forgetting about the town so he can like see it for the first time, basically, and like
Yeah.
or see how it is.
Hmm.
And the movie takes place during like a period where, like, kind of at the end of an era in a way, or not like necessarily the end of an era, but there's like a computer company.
It's like a
and
technological
it
shift,
kind of
in a way.
right. So it's kind of like about how things are always changing, so the town changes with it.
Yeah, even though
it
things
tries
changed, even though things changed, the heart of the town still remains the same, even after how many years of history it has. Like, it's still that idea of like community
the
there.
small town.
But and like that's what's interesting about this movie, because like for me at least, when I was introduced to the movie, I was surrounded by people that loved it, because on the film board that I was a part of, everyone loved this movie. So,
I see.
but it's one of those movies where if like someone came up to me and said like, yeah, I wasn't a huge fan of that, it's like I understand, because it is very quirky and maybe even too much to a sense for some people, because some people, they can't, if it's like too much, like if they're too eccentric or too quirky, it's just like it's kind of becomes like unbearable at times. But for me, it's like
Fair,
I like that level, the level of like eccentricities that are featured in this town. And in a weird way, I was kind of comparing this to UHF in a way that
yeah.
it is more, it's heavily music based, but the idea that's more of a series of vignettes, sort of on the like with a story barely pulling it along. Whereas with UHF, they did shoehorn in a full story in the last third. True Stories never really does that, because the story really is centered around the narrator showing us this town. And I guess you could argue that John Goodman's character, who is like this bachelor, and he's just looking for love, like he has kind of like a journey. So in a way, there's almost, I kind of see it as two stories going on at the same time,
Yeah.
and they both kind of interact with each other.
Right. And I think it's cool, like, unlike UHF, where, maybe it's like, all the vignettes are kind of, or most of the vignettes are kind of like videos or self-contained jokes that just kind of happen. Like, the people that are introduced can come back,
Yeah.
and they are kind of like part of the town. I kind of compared it to, I guess I talk about it a lot nowadays, but the fourth part of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure takes place in a small town, kind of like this, where every episode you get like a new character or a new person that has like a magical power, and then at the end they all kind of get together, or you just kind of see like the town interacting with all these people that you now know.
Yeah.
And that was kind of what I thought, like, it's basically like you're in this town, and True Stories is like you go into a town and everybody's preparing for this this celebration, and it's the 150th anniversary of Texas, right?
Correct. And
so there's a parade and a talent show.
yeah. And in a way, that's sort of like the climax of the movie. But
Right.
the thing that's interesting about this town is that various like videos. Like I know Red Letter Media did a video on true stories, which is actually very good, and he kind of they kind of not interpret, but they saw it as like it's like if an alien was to make a movie about like a small town, because the people are so eccentric and like weird. But why I think it works here is that because some could easily pass off as like, oh my gosh, they're so weird. It's just like they do like why do they have this like fashion show where all the costumes look like they're coming out of a Warner Brothers cartoon? Why do they lip sync at a club instead of doing like karaoke? Why is there a like a massive head eating corn in the talent show or something like that? But to me it's
a woman who never gets out of bed.
Yeah, the women. I love that character so much. She's so rich she doesn't have to get out of bed.
Yeah.
But to me, it's like it's not. It's kind of like if you would like how you go on a road trip sometimes and you pass through a small town. They even said this in Red Letter Media's video. I don't want to like copy it, but basically said like it's kind of like if you go into a small town and like you just observe these people and they think, wow, it's so weird. But they're just doing their normal things. They don't see anything weird about it. They're just going about their daily lives. So it's like no matter where, like what area you're from or what town you came from, everyone has their daily routine. It could be incredibly weird or incredibly normal. It's just like, what is your idea of normal? So that's why, they do really, really weird things in this movie, but it's not a negative and it's never distracting because like, oh, this is how this town operates.
Yeah. Oh.
I'm fine. I'm still connected.
I can still hear you.
Okay. It was on your end this time.
Yeah, sorry about that. But anyways, go on.
I mean, I think I was wrapping up. You were saying something, like you were about to start.
Oh yeah. Well, I was gonna say like, I think that's actually a really. I mean, that's like. Yeah, that's what the movie's about, and like it's cool how they actually got that to come across,
Right.
Like. Obviously, it's a little bit like exaggerated and stuff, but it does like get that feeling across of kind of seeing like strange things for the first time. Maybe that makes you like the scene in the church where they have like the conspiracy theorist pastor,
puzzle and evidence.
Yeah, like I've gotten that feeling before, not from someone like actually saying that, but like someone from a different town saying something that just like doesn't really like line up with how I feel.
Yeah.
And then like I kind of want to go home. But like it's just interesting how they got that to come across,
I'd argue that it's not really like you said that the movie was you didn't say it was over the top, right? Or
no, I don't think it's over the top. I think it's a little bit exaggerated.
Oh, that's
or
right. I'd argue that it really isn't though, because in a way, like there's two key moments to that I can think of. Like it's more of a commentary on just like American culture, because like the mall scene, for example, and it doesn't really like play for us today because malls are kind of dying, like, and
Right.
because we have Amazon and all that. But back then, in like the '80s, malls were like the big thing. Like, and David Byrne's like, "What time is it? No, like, no time to look back." It's like, it's almost like the idea of the American like shopping mall is this enterprise of, not corporate America, but just sort of like consumerism, and it's a place where people are coming together. They're coming together to quote unquote meet each other, but they're just buying products too. And the same idea
Right.
can go into
It's
the
like shopping has become the
shopping,
new
but also the
pastime,
commercial
right?
montage in the movie, which is one of my favorite scenes, where, uh, um, what's her name? I can't. Miss Rawlings, the lady who never gets out of bed just because she's so wealthy. She's like commenting like, "Oh, that doesn't work," like for the certain product, and it's like she's
Oh yeah.
complaining about, but it's like, well, she already spent money, so it's like the company wins either way if you don't like the product or not. And also just the idea like, oh,
Yeah.
for all these commercials, especially in the '80s, because '80s commercials to me are kind of like mini movies. Like they're so flashy and in your face, just them trying to sell you stuff, and they're even like, oh, what are they selling? It's like it comes to the point where you don't even know what you're being like sold, in a way.
Yeah. But you just remember the like parts of it.
Right, like the marketing. You remember the marketing of it, and also when David Byrne goes to the the house of with the family who owns the computer plant. God, what's it
Oh
called?
yeah, the family that
Corp. Yeah,
doesn't
the mom and dad, they don't talk to each
hus-
other directly. They talk through their kids. It's like
yeah.
it's stuff like that. It's so goofy, but it's really funny. But what I love about that scene is that, in a way, that one scene to me is very ahead of its time, where he's like, all these towns are like moving away from like these large factories where everywhere people are starting their own businesses. Like, what's the idea of weekends anymore? And like that really plays a role
Mhm.
today because of like internet culture. Like there's YouTubers and Instagrammers and TikTokers. Like they work, quote unquote work, like in some ways like almost every day. So like what's the idea of the 9 to 5 5 day work job anymore? So,
Yeah.
and that, because that's something that really resonated with me. Like, wow, this came out in like '86, when like that idea of just like you gotta work Monday through Friday, and then your weekends you could do whatever. It's your days off. Like, obviously there's still jobs like that, but the idea of that is kind of getting lost.
Yeah.
It's-
That's
well,
interesting.
what did you
I
think?
don't know. I think it also kind of like that's kind of what Lewis is searching for, like and I think that's also something that translates well and goes in line with the message of the movie, I guess, or what it was trying to accomplish. The fact
Right.
that he's looking for a marriage or a long-term relationship,
Mm-hmm.
in kind of a day and age where maybe that's starting to become lost.
Mm.
So yeah, it is cool how that all kind of comes back to that.
Yeah. What did you think of the music?
The music was pretty good. I guess I'm not really familiar with the Talking Heads. I'm not really sure
Yeah, I
if
wasn't.
that's where the songs came from.
Yeah, I'm
It
not
sounds
too
like
familiar with their songs,
yeah, it
but
sounds like the song at the end could have come from like a real band.
yeah, well, I think as far as I'm aware, all the songs were from like previous albums. I don't think any of them was like
I see.
written for the movie. So to say, but I think the songs are just, they're not only really good songs, but they fit really well in with the story
Yeah.
it's making, and also just the idea. And what I really love is that obviously there's songs where it's more just for not ambiance, but just to play along with the themes of the movie. But then there's like a full blown like musical number with like a Dream Operator, like just she just goes into song for no reason, but it's like it adds that like the eccentric nature. And what this isn't a problem for me, at least, because it builds it up right away. I can understand why some people might say like, oh, just the idea that it's eccentric and like all these weird things happening can be an excuse for you not to question or like criticize the movie. But personally, I don't see it, because you know how people's like, you know, like art films sometimes where it's like, if you go, oh, I don't like this character, you're not supposed to like that character. Like, we purposely made them like, you're not supposed to like these characters, or like we place these things to make you ask questions. It's like you're meant to draw your own interpretation. I wouldn't say it's like that.
Or like, you're not smart enough to...
Yeah, you're not on my level of intellect to understand my art. It's never like that with true stories, I feel like. But...
No.
Because it presents that idea of the sort of eccentric nature right off the bat. It's not like it's normal for the first half hour and then all of a sudden they throw a curveball and it totally changes the tone. Like,
yeah,
it starts off right away. Whereas, if I'm being totally honest, a movie like UHF doesn't really do that. Like, it kind of throws in the goofiness like a little too late at points, I feel like.
Yeah.
Because, like, you know what you're getting into when right away, like, you see David Byrne, like, presenting, like, they're going to have this anniversary, and he steps through the screen. Like, okay, I know what kind of movie I'm watching. And then him with the car, too. Like, I love the driving scenes, how you could tell it's literally just him on a green screen. He's not really driving.
Yeah.
Right off the bat.
And I like his performance, like the way he talks. It reminded me kind of a Wes Anderson movie.
Yeah, the whole tone, and that's another thing I want to bring up too, is that what I really like about David Byrne's character, so to say, because he's just a narrator, but like it brings up a question, like, if he really likes these people or is making fun of them, because his delivery is always on point. That it kind of, you're not sure whether or not like he's, because for me, I never saw it as him like making fun of these people, but
me either.
It's the way in like he accepts it and goes along with it. Maybe in his head he thinks it's weird, but he's not going to show and say like, oh my gosh, you guys are acting like weirdos. So maybe that he is, I wouldn't say he's making fun of it, instead going along with it, because he knows he knows the way the town of Virgil, Texas acts. He's going to go along with their sense of normality.
Yeah. I kind of saw it as like, I saw it as him like actually making a film, or like, almost like a documentary, and like he was kind of bringing the audience along on this journey, and that maybe he like saw the people as genuinely interesting,
Yeah.
Not like weird or like, yeah, not making fun of them, but just like, yeah, these people deserve to be seen.
Because there's so much personality in this movie. Because like we already mentioned, like the lady that never has to get out of bed, but also there's the lying woman who always says like some sort of like outlandish lie. Like she's like, oh, I wrote all the songs to the Beatles and half of Elvis's, or I dated Burt Reynolds, and like, or something like that, like just something so absurd. But and also like the preacher as well, and just like every one of these characters has something about them that is just really quirky, but it only adds to the personality of the whole situation.
Yeah, and I thought that was cool, like, because I feel like we all kind of know someone that's vaguely like that, like those people, like the lady who always lies. I thought of a few people that I know are kind of like that, who don't always directly, or they always kind of exaggerate a little bit.
Yeah, I mean maybe not to this extreme, but there is like
Yeah,
some sort of quirk. Like someone could be into like a hobby. I don't know, like for example, if you knew a friend that was really into rugby or something like that. No,
and
no
that's what I
offense to
mean when I
anyone.
say that it's exaggerated.
Mm.
Like it's like a little bit like further than normal,
But
just to.
I'd say my counter argument to that is that the whole town is like has that level of exaggeration, so it comes to a point where it's not even
Yeah, so it
exaggerated. It's
doesn't.
sort of like it's sort of nuanced in a way. If there was one
Right.
character like that, then yeah, but they're all kind of like that to some degree.
Yeah, and then you kind of get that. You get the feelings that the quote unquote normal versions of them would give you. I feel like.
It's kind of interesting that this movie was even made, too. Because
Yeah,
it's
and
so
especially in the
unique.
80s.
There's very few movies I could think of that are even like this, and like do it
Right.
well too. Because it wasn't like independent too. It was a studio funded project, which I don't think any major studio today would make something like this.
Probably not. Especially like you hear people talk about the 80s where it was a very studio driven time period for filmmaking.
Oh yeah, after like New Hollywood, the New Hollywood era of the 70s.
Yeah. So it doesn't quite fit, does it?
No, not
Especially
really.
for this was released in theaters, right?
Yeah, it was released in theaters. I mean, it didn't do that great, but I don't know like how
Mm-hmm.
well it was like advertised or anything. Critically, it did well, but it didn't make a lot of money.
Mm.
It only found like really great success on like VHS and DVD.
Yeah.
That got released on
Well, I guess
Criterion
that
as
there is
well.
the whole. Oh, really?
Yeah, the Criterion's really
Cool.
is a really nice set actually. It has the soundtrack on CD too.
That's nice.
Yeah.
I guess that probably was a factor, the appeal of the Talking Heads,
Yeah.
and they could sell the soundtrack.
Well,
We
actually,
were talking
it
about that last week with Weird Al.
yeah. I actually something interesting about the soundtrack is that the full how do I say it? So there were some songs that were released like on other albums, and there was a soundtrack called
Uh,
Sounds from True Stories, but it was more just instrumental score. The full soundtrack of like the songs, the instrumental, everything was not officially released until the Criterion came out.
wow, really?
Yeah, so which is really a shame because I think not only just the songs itself, but the music too. I think the music is just really really good because I listen to it actually pretty often. Like I love the mall music, which in the movie you could barely hear it because it's like there's dialogue over it, but if you just listen to it on its own, it's really catchy. And
Yeah, to be honest, I didn't catch it.
yeah, like I didn't catch it either when I
So,
first saw it, and but even like the opening song, like the opening instrumental music, like it's like
hmm.
like that. That's a really nice tune.
So maybe I gotta watch this one again.
Yeah, I actually it did hold up on a second watch, and I did catch more things in it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Neat. Are the talking, or did the talking? When did the Talking Heads like break up?
Uh,
Assuming they did.
I'm so according this is from Wikipedia. They were active from 1975 to 1991, and then they came back in
Mm.
96 and 2002.
Cool.
Yeah, I don't really know. I aside from this, I don't know much about the Talking Heads really.
Hmm.
apparently they're filmmakers as well.
Well, this was like the only. Well, it was only David Byrne that was like wrote, starred, and directed it, but they didn't. I don't think they made another film. They did do a concert film like a few years before this called Stop Making Sense, which is supposed to be really good, but they didn't really do any other movies.
Let's see. I do think it's really cool though how this is like a movie based entirely on like a band's like work, you know?
Yeah, it's such a.
I've always
it's such
thought
a
that would be
s-
cool. I know there's movies like it, like you know, The Wall, which I have not seen, but I know
The Wall is actually really
it's
different
based on.
though from this, because the Wall is a in a way it's sort of like a visual companion piece because it's the entire album like with films, film scenes. But this one, it's just it was one member from the band who made this entire original plot with like the music sort of like
Based
put in
on
it's
music.
so I'm telling you, it's so like weird that this movie even exists, like in a good way though, because on paper it's like it's like being John Malkovich or adaptation. Like on paper, if you were to pitch this to a studio, they'd think you're insane, and it's more insane that they funded it, made it, and it's even crazier that it even came out good, because in wrong hands this probably could have been a disaster.
Right. I'd really like to see something like this from Gerard Way, who wrote The Umbrella Academy, but also was the frontman of My Chemical Romance. And I think it would be really interesting if they did something with their music.
Yeah. I haven't seen Umbrella Academy, so yeah, I'm not too familiar with My Chemical Romance either, so.
But it would be like, yeah. Anyways, like that was just one thing I thought was cool about this movie.
Yeah, I also love the visuals, the visual style. Like it's a very colorful movie too. But like you said, it's never flashy or distracting. It never it's never like itching for attention. But it's like you always manage to keep your eyes on it. Like.
Yeah. The palette was.
It's a really bright palette because
cool,
I don't like obviously the Criterion one they did it was like a 4K restoration of it and it looks amazing. Like the colors are just so bright and beautiful. It's almost like a Technicolor movie in some scenes.
I thought that
like,
the costumes were also cool.
Oh yeah,
How
not
Lewis,
just in the fashions.
green and blue suits.
Yeah, not just in the fashion scene
Stuff.
because like I like the fashion show with all the crazy costumes.
Oh yeah,
which is amazing. But just like even just like what the regular people wear, it's just like they're really good costumes. That's something I don't usually like notice that much in movies. But
right.
I think this should have been nominated for best costume design at the Oscars.
Makes sense, yeah. I guess I don't know what it was up against. I don't really know too much about like late 80s cinema or mid 80s cinema. Besides like the popular stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else? Yeah, you have to add, or you want to add?
You know, yeah. Should we get into our final thoughts?
Yeah. Would you like to go first? Would you like to go first?
Sure. Well, you know, yeah, I guess I didn't really greatly enjoy the movie. But I thought this was like a really interesting discussion actually, and I think I probably will check it out again sometime soon. I guess there were certain parts of it that dragged for me, but there were a lot of aspects that I really enjoyed, like the plot structure, and a lot of the characters were interesting.
Yeah.
And just, yeah, like we talked about, like the personality of this movie really shines. So I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10.
Oh, okay. Actually, a bit higher than I was expecting because you said you didn't enjoy it. So I'm like, oh, he's probably gonna give it like a 5 or something.
No. Like, I make my ratings like based mostly on. I'm making this rating based on, I guess, the cinematic merit.
Oh, okay.
I took off the points mostly because of I took the points off for my personal preferences.
Gotcha.
But yeah.
Yeah, I think the movie's really, really great. It's a very one of a kind experience, and I think if you go in knowing that it's like so absurd at some points, and just kind of like because they're just a bunch of oddballs, it's like it'll only add to your enjoyment because the music's great, the visual style is really beautiful, the performances are pretty good too, and the characters are super interesting despite their quirkiness. I really really like it. It's such a fun movie to watch, and I really hope that it gets more recognition as the years go on. And I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10.
Nice. So with that said, that brings us to the end of this episode of the CineMajors podcast. Join us next time where we will be discussing the 1995 anime film Ghost in the Shell. My name is James Alchel.
My name is Matthew Huh.
Thanks for listening. We'll see you guys next time.